warning. Your following movie rental may contain spoilers, subjects, opinions, and language not suitable for all audiences, and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Thank you for choosing us as your go-to for entertainment, and remember, be kind, rewind.
Welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of Movie Rantels. I am your host, Michael, and with me is a good friend and sometimes arch nemesis, Eli.
Glad to be both.
Thank you for stumbling across this video on your YouTube adventures. You're in for a treat, a singular experience you can't get anywhere else on the YouTubes. Two visually impaired, slightly overweight nerds are going to rant about a movie they watched for an and will then spew an intermittent amount of time about said movie. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, wait until the end. Knives Out. What did you think, Eli?
Fucking what, your intro or the movie? Both are fucking beautiful.
Yes.
Both are beautiful. Oh my god. Knives Out. Just at the end of the movie, I almost uttered the phrase, "They don't make movies like they used to anymore." And then I realized, oh shit, this came out in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It was so
no,
good.
But I know what you mean. It definitely has a degree of care laid out into it. You know what I mean? Like, details matter. Like, okay, so at the beginning of the movie, we see the mug that says, like, "My house, my rules," right?
Yep. Oh, I love that.
And you kind of see that through the movie a little bit. And then at the end, Marta has that cup in hand.
Beautiful.
Looking out on the rest of the family. And it's like, that's a framing moment. Like, Rian Johnson definitely, say what you want about, his role in Star Wars. But as a director, you can't
knock him.
Fault the man, right? Like,
No.
he's pretty good.
Oh my gosh. That whole last frame of them looking up at her on the balcony, freaking Jamie Lee Curtis just popping the cigarette in her mouth. They're just like that. There's something about the staging and the composition of that. In fact, of every shot in this movie, or like a lot of the big moments, it was just so fucking beautiful. Like a lot of people, like, I find it really interesting that a lot of people today really seems like if it's not a big Marvel movie, if it's not an action movie, or if there's not a lot of movement, it really seems that there's this faulty idea that people will just easily get bored, And I'll tell you, you don't need action. You don't need any of that. Like, you just need really good framing and good staging.
And good actors.
And good actors. Oh, my God. The fucking all-star cast in this movie.
This movie. Let's just... Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Toni Collette.
Oh, Toni Collette. Motherfucking Christopher fucking Plummer. Rest in peace, by the way.
He at the recording of this, February 5th, he passed on. So,
fucking legend.
Legend.
I get choked up just thinking about it. But man, what a fucking legacy he's left behind. Little side note I'm going to make about the characters in this, because I don't, I'm going to be quoting someone I don't know the name of, but there, some wise critic must have said that, actually, in fact, it's probably the guy who wrote The Hero with a Thousand Faces, but whose name escapes me. But like, you don't have to have characters that are, likable or hateable. You just need to have characters that are driven. And there's something about every one of these characters where every one of them, like the drive is just in every single line of dialogue of theirs. And I
Mm-hmm.
gotta tell you, there was one point in the movie where I fucking hate these characters. Like I mean hate
Yeah.
in the term of like every one of the characters in this movie is a frigging villain to the
Mm-hmm.
nth degree. I mean, except the protagonist, which ironically, by the way, is framed as basically the villain. When you look at it,
Yeah.
the villain is the
Yeah.
protagonist, and also really the good person, the good guy, and everyone
Mm-hmm.
else is just this freaking terrible monster. Like every suspect, if you will, and I put that in quotations, every suspect in this case, they really are. I believe Daniel Craig's character says it best. They are a bunch of friggin' vultures.
Yep.
Every one of these pieces of shit.
Yeah, and
Especially,
that's what's so great about this movie is it takes that, who done it murder drama and kind of mixes up the formula.
mm,
So you have from the very beginning your protagonist who knows and is a part of the plot that they're trying to unravel.
hmm
And she's someone who can't lie. So so we have Marta Cabrera played by Ana de Armas
so good.
who right who can play such a relatable character. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like the first thing that really struck me when I was watching this movie for the first time is the eye for detail in all the set designs.
Oh
So
my god, yes.
when the movie starts, you are flying through Harlan Thrombey's pretty much mansion, and he's got a lifetime of knickknacks and odds and ends and movie props and all these different things.
Yeah, he's
But it's obviously someone who's very affluent, you know?
yeah, he's like this. He's totally this really eclectic murder mystery writer who clearly
Mm-hmm.
completely surrounded himself in a mixture between memorabilia and puzzles, and basically he really made his house like something out of the kind of novels that he writes, which I believe I forget which character says it, but there's a line in there that basically says the man basically lives in a clue board. And it's true.
Yes.
Like his
Mm-hmm.
house from top to bottom, and every inch of it just screams Clue and Agatha Christie all over it. And there's so
Right.
many
Yeah.
little details in there that you blink and you miss it.
Yeah,
It's
and
so gorgeous.
exactly. There is speaking of blinking, the thing that popped out to me pretty much immediately was that we have the motif of the two eyes looking over the different rooms of the house. So,
Oh
I mean, where they're
yes.
most prominently shown is in his office, Harlan Thrombey's office, and his study.
Mm-hmm.
And in his study is a really good place for them, or an apt place for them, because that's where the crime happens. That's where the pivotal moment of the movie takes place. And the eyes are I kind of like surmise it to, it's like the audience knows what happened. The
Mm-hmm.
truth sees what happened. And he's the two pivotal places where the truth comes out, like plot wise, you get in the office and in his study. In his office, you have the moment where he reveals to Ransom that he's cutting everyone out of the will and he's giving all his shit to Marta,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Which is the big crux of the whole thing, is that this terrible family is so bad that the patron is like, fuck this shit.
Fuck this shit.
You all are getting nothing.
Nothing. Which I mean, I could literally count if I counted all of like the different like references and plot similarities of other like really big stories and movies, we'd be here all night. But what really kind of stuck out to me with that was it wasn't even really a mystery, but was almost taken from Twilight Zone. It reminded me of the old man dying in the attic and forcing all of the family members that were really only there for his money to wear these like grotesque masks until midnight. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And while you're on the subject of eyes, right, and the eye motif, there's one that I see. I don't even know if I really noticed the eyes in his study. The one eye that I noticed is the knife replica, the ring of knives monument in his study, which is like an iris. It's an iris of an eye.
I never even thought of that. I mean, that's a big central,
yeah, that's like the center
prop of the whole movie. But yeah, that's true. And they sit right in the middle of it, and they're gazed on the, by this eye of Sauron made of knives.
Yep. Yeah. If this movie, by the way, or if this movie was ever made into a play, that fucking ring of eyes is like the centerpiece of the stage.
Oh yeah,
it freaking ought to be.
Yeah.
The another which also leads me into a little side tangent I'll go on about, like, there are so many like and I find to be like a great writing, or like in that kind of great dialogue writing. A lot of people kind of point to Tarantino as the standard, and I would agree. And I find that a lot of that is kind of present in this movie, where there's so many scenes where the characters are speaking over one another and they're yelling over one another, and it's almost like they're all kind of competing for a soliloquy. They're basically just voicing out soliloquies of themselves. And then there's the detective character played by Daniel Craig, who's almost, doing the very typical detective soliloquy, something you would hear right out of any of Agatha Christie's Poirot series or something like that. And again, on the eye motif and whatever, he, in this one soliloquy, in this one line, he basically kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily he gives the conceit of the movie away, but he it's almost like in this weird abstract way, he's like telling you how the plot was conceived, or how, it's almost like a code or something for the movie, which is, it's like we have a donut. Yeah, and there's a hole in the donut, but the
donut
hole. But the donut hole itself has a hole. it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous and hilarious. But at the same time, when you think about it, it's like, oh, okay. So like when you look at it, it's like, oh, well, the hole in the donut, that's okay right there. That is detective dramas in a nutshell, or the Who Dunnit in a nutshell.
Yeah.
There's one piece that is missing or doesn't belong that's going to be revealed. And in this, it's like there's the missing piece of the missing piece. Well, the great thing about this movie is that, like, the missing piece is almost completely given to the audience 10 or 20 minutes into the movie. We already know who the murderer is, supposedly. Until they're about 2/3 of the movie in, or hell, even 3/4 at one point, you kind of figure out, like, oh wait, no, there's a whole other person.
Yeah, there's a little layer here that we're missing.
Yeah.
And and this movie does a great job of delivering expectations and then paying off those expectations. Definitely when you were talking about, like, he's talking about the donut hole, in the car, right?
Yep.
And then he goes back to it at the end of the movie. You get this little setup and payoff. But speaking of that donut soliloquy, that almost was cut, but Daniel Craig insisted that it was put in there.
Really? Yeah, because to me that's like the crux of his character. That might as well be the crux of the fucking movie. That is the
thesis.
That's the thesis right there.
Right. Well, it was that it was written and like on paper it looked really stupid. And they're like, nah, we're not gonna keep this in here. And Daniel Craig's like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And then he delivers it, and everyone's like, you know what? That's staying in. That's great.
Another thing I really have to applaud this movie for is that it's unafraid, unlike a lot of other movies, to play with tone and not let itself be bogged down to get basically too serious about itself. And Daniel Craig's character it's amazing how Daniel Craig's character is both the representation of the genre, essentially, that we're watching. This is the Who Dunnit, Agatha Christie genre, as I said. But it's also, he is both the representation and he is also kind of he's also sort of the joke. Like he's also like he's both how timeless it is. You know, he's both the representation of how timeless it is. He's also the representation of how ridiculous it is, and how kind of, you know, funny in a sense that it can be, and how it takes itself too seriously. Because Daniel Craig's character, with that soliloquy, I feel like I burst out laughing when I was hearing half of the shit that he was saying, and I was like, and I loved it because I was like, you know, the funny thing is that I find this to be ridiculous and I can't take it seriously, but at the same time, I'm like, this is going to make me remember this over any other freaking whodunit story that's going to take itself too fucking seriously and play every bit of like dramatism so seriously. So it's really good that this has a sense of humor about itself. And fucking,
that's one of my
hats off
main
to Daniel
criticisms. Oh yeah, absolutely. And one of my main criticisms of something like Murder on the Orient Express is just that it feels like it's taking itself far too seriously. But you know, that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah. Seriously.
But let's get back to towards the beginning of the movie when they're interviewing the family and how the family is revealed to the audience. And we kind of get that through Marta. She shows up because they're doing the investigation and they need to you know, question everyone who was, you know, at the party on November 8th or whatever it was in the movie. Right. So the whole family shows up, plus the wait staff, plus her, who she is the nurse to Harlan Thrombey, personal nurse, and becomes more of a personal friend to him because everyone else in his life wants something from him. You know, either his money or his influence or whatever.
Right.
Everyone else is there because, you know, he's their cash cow, pretty much.
Yeah.
But here's Marta, who is literally getting paid to be there by Harlan, but is far more his friend than anyone else. And, you know, it's a really nice touch that when you see Harlan and Marta interact with each other, that how implicitly he trusts her. But anyways, let's go back to the the interview at the beginning with everyone, starting off with Linda, right, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, this is clearly a woman who loves her father, right? But when she talks about him like he was never really a father to her in a strict sense. The only way she was able to get so close to him is because she played the little games that he set up.
Right.
And that there was never direct communication. There were always, you know,
she has like this complete undertone of resentment in everything that she says about him. Like there were a couple of moments where I think that it even almost sounded like when it came to the subject of his death, she was like biting her tongue, trying not to admit how much either A, she didn't care, or B, that she was happy that, you know, like it was more like a relief to her than anything, or that there was just no feeling there because, you know, there no investment because it felt like he had no investment in them. And I think that's anyway, that's a theme I could wax about forever and I'll return to later, but you know, the parenting in particular.
Yeah. The thing that I got from her when watching it, now I've seen this movie twice now in short succession, so there's a lot of remorse there, I feel, and it's a very touchy subject for her because she claims that she, you know, started her real estate business from, you know, pulling herself up from her bootstraps. But in reality, she got a $2 million loan from her dad.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Right.
So obviously she didn't really pull too many bootstraps to get there, but it's something that she has and it's hers. And when Blanc, you know, talks about like, oh, you, or not Blanc, but lieutenant there, the lieutenant detective is like, oh, you and your husband have a real estate. She's like, no, it's mine.
Right.
It's my business. I built it. I'm self-made. But she does have that family loyalty too, because when Blanc starts pressing her or, you know, questioning Walt's involvement in the family business, she's like, I ain't gonna, you know, let you gaslight me into giving away anything about my family, because she deeply cares about the image, at least, of the Thrombey family, you know.
Yeah. Which yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But this is like 5 minutes with this character.
Yeah.
Not even. Right?
Even. Yeah.
So, I mean, just the way she acts, the way she's, you know, she's annoyed that she even has to do this, you know. Then we have Richard, her husband.
Oh my God, are we fucking going into this?
Oh my God.
Don Johnson, you're an amazing actor and you play such assholes.
Oh my God.
The biggest
he's
assholes.
Just so good.
He's so good.
I love it when Marta shows up, and, you know, and the fact that, you know, she shows up in her little Hyundai and everyone's like, oh, she's family, but none of them know jack shit about her.
Yeah.
And it's really hilarious through the entire interview process at the beginning. None of them agree on where she came from.
Yeah, because none of them know. There was another thing that I picked up, actually. There's a line that's repeated by like 2 or 3 different characters, and I can't even remember what order or which people said what. But there's like this repeated thing where Marta never attended the funeral because apparently the family didn't let her in. But every time that somebody said something about that, like, I wanted you to come, but I got outvoted. Like,
yes,
I was like, no, like, it was
it was Linda. Yeah, she greets her at the door, and she's like, "Oh, I'm, you know, so sorry you didn't get to go to the funeral. You know, I wanted to go, but I got outvoted." And then it was Walter, I believe.
Yeah, Walt. Which, okay, just for 1 second, I'm gonna go on one little tangent about Walt. All right.
Okay. Zod. When I saw him, I'm like, Zod. That's fucking Zod. Oh my God.
It's funny. You saw Zod. You know who I saw? I can't remember the character's name, but the villain from The Shape of Water.
Oh, yeah.
He always plays a creepy motherfucker every time.
Yeah.
He plays
the what was his name? Richard Strickland. There. Yeah.
Oh, just every time. The most intense scene, and I personally think is like the best directed scene and the best written scene, is the scene where he's intimidating Marta. There's
Oh
just
yeah, he
that,
shows up to her apartment.
and there's
Yep.
that beautiful cut back and forth of him stomping the freaking cane at
Cane,
her as
yep.
he's like stepping closer. I was just like, you son of a bitch. Like,
Yeah, and
Hmm.
the whole thing there is like, don't fuck with us or we'll get your family deported. And you're
yeah.
like, wow, fuck.
Wow. Yeah, talk
But
about
that's the thing. Harlan, out of all of the people in that freaking family, was thinking about her and her family. You know what I mean?
even when he was
Like,
fucking dying.
yeah, when he thought he was dying, and this is going spoilers for this movie. We're about 20 minutes into this discussion. Spoilers.
I'll put
Um,
a thing at the beginning about
there
warning
we
for
go.
spoilers. I got that.
We'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post.
But anyway, so she thinks she gives him the wrong medication. He's like, well, I'm fucking dead.
Yeah.
So what you got to do is this elaborate ruse so you don't get blamed for this. Because if you get blamed for this, they'll send your mother, back.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't even think we get to know where she's from originally. Everyone says some South American country. I don't think it's ever explicitly. Not that it matters.
Yeah, that's just it.
All that it matters is they don't give a shit about her.
yeah. It's also kind of a beautifully poetic because man, am I gonna get into this? I'm gonna get into this.
Well, we they have. Let's go back to the interviews again. Let's try to get through that.
All right. Okay.
So you got Richard, where Linda is not going to say shit about her family. Fucking Richard is just like, oh man, you should hear the fucking fight that Walt and Harlan had. Oh my god. Anything to make him look better, right? Like he's just this shriveled little man. And and then when Benoit presses Walt, he's like, oh no, nothing happened. And then you can just see in the flashback like Harlan pretty much made your life's purpose irrelevant by taking you out of the publishing deal. And
yep.
So that gives Walt suspicion. He could have killed him.
Yep.
Maybe. Who done it? And then we figure out that he's cut everyone off and fucking. What character really, or what role really surprised me was Joni. Joni, who was played by what's her name? Totally not looking up.
Toni Collette.
Oh
yes. My god.
Yep.
BT dubs, and I won't name a name here, okay? But Toni Collette's character is so based on and so reminiscent of a particular celebrity who happens to. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I immediately heard in some of the shit she was talking about. Immediately, I was just like, "Oh, you're so and so. Oh yeah, you're totally so and so. Somebody has it out for them." Goop. Oh my fucking lord!
What was it? Flam in the movie.
Oh my
Flam.
God.
That's totally like positive flam.
You couldn't be more on the fucking nose if you tried.
Oh my god, it's so good. The last movie I saw Toni Collette in was Hereditary, which is a very different movie.
Yes.
Than this. Ooh. And playing a very different character. And I got whiplash.
Right? Freaking right. Oh my god.
But it was good. It was really good. I thought, so good.
So good.
But yeah, so you get through all these people and, they're all terrible. You get to see that they're all terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some really good attention to detail for the entire movie. When we, first meet Marta, we get to see how she lives, right?
Yep.
In that little apartment, and it just seems so like you've been to that apartment.
Oh yeah.
it and how she behaved and how she dressed. So it's just like, okay, this person is relatable, and they made it perfectly clear.
Yep.
But the first time we see her the next time we see her at the manor, remember she's by that window that had all that Black Death imagery on it.
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah.
Yep, that was really cool because that's
really...
like some memento mori imagery.
Oh,
so
fuck,
it's
I
like,
didn't even realize that. Sorry.
Yeah. So we get this whole like she's creeping up to the window with death on it, and she's the killer, right? Or that's foreshadowing that
The reveal.
she's the killer.
Yeah,
the reveal about 20 minutes later that she's, even unintentionally, but she killed Crombie there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And the second time through, I was like, huh, that's good attention to detail. But memento mori translates to remember your mortality.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, neat. But the whole family should remember their mortality, remember their humility. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. They've got some real eye for detail.
The whole family is such a they're kind of like I'd probably go so far as to say like there's poetic justice, I think, in the way that they're written and their whole plight and everything. Like I could have seen every single one of these characters as the person who killed Harlan. I think that's
right.
Obviously intentional, but even more so, they beautifully all have almost the exact same problem. I mean, Harlan, I think, talks about it in his death scene, or like the moments before his death scene, where like he wasn't, where he kind of confesses that he wasn't really a father to any of them, not in the way that mattered. Not in the way that mattered.
Yeah,
like,
he provided for them, but he didn't nurture.
Yeah, he basically spoiled all of them. And now that and even like Jamie Lee Curtis is probably, her character is the only like one that is the closest thing to have escaped, basically it's almost like she's like trying to escape the way that
the legend. Yeah.
Well, not just the legend, but the way that he crippled her. Like, because he crippled all of them in that particular way. Like, he gave them everything so they would want for nothing, but at the same time, it's like, it's now they don't know how to like. They mention it a bunch of times, the whole fending for yourself, and where it particularly comes into play when
with Ransom.
When Ransom enters the picture, which, by the way, loved his performance. In particular, it reminded me of a character that Robert Downey Jr. played in Home for the Holidays, which BT dubs, not nowhere near the same kind of character. I kind of was not quite expecting him to be the person he ended up being. Are
we talking about Chris Evans?
Ransom. Chris Evans, Ransom. In the way that he reminded me of Johnny. What did I say? Robert Downey Jr.'s character from Home for the Holidays is he had this very disconnected, disillusioned attitude towards the family that all hated him, and to the point where he absolutely does. He gives zero fucks about what any of them think, and he almost takes delight in watching their dysfunction. And you can't help but side with that. Like, you can't help but side with that. There was,
on my first viewing of Knives Out, I'm like, damn, this is the guy that they all hate. So he's obviously doing something right.
He's doing something right.
right?
Eat
Like
shit,
he can't
eat
be.
shit, totally eat shit. I was
Yep.
like, you.
Oh, I love it. There's an improvised line that that Walt gives. And it's when they're all yelling and you just hear over everyone, I'm not gonna eat even one iota of shit. Just, oh my god, I just broke out laughing. It was so good.
Oh god. But yeah, hearkening back to that the conversation which Don Johnson's character, I can only remember them by the actors for some reason, or Don Johnson's character Richard, where Richard pulls Marta in for the like to force her to be a part of his fucking argument, you know.
Oh yeah, the awkward the awkward Trump conversation that's not Trump, you know, like
yeah,
they're just
yeah.
they're skirting around the whole thing, like red cap wearing, you know, and half the family's like
Nazis and
yeah.
god
Yeah,
damn.
and oh my god, what's his name? The kid there,
The kid.
Oh man, what was his name?
Yeah.
I am literally pulling up IMDb because I didn't write his character down at all. I feel like a dick.
Where he threw in SJW Snowflake towards Tony Collette's character. Yeah.
Yes.
That little shit. All of them. I fucking hate
every single one of them is a fucking but that's so good. Like it was really fun. Like the first time through, going through, I'm like, wow, maybe a couple of these people are all right. Maybe not all of them are assholes.
And then that scene shows up.
And then I'm like, and it chipped away at that notion the entire time until I was like, you know, halfway through. I'm like, man, every one of these people are a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So the kid's name is Jacob, played by Jaden Martell or Martle. I don't know how to say that name.
Oh wait,
he was in
he was in It. Was it? Yes, he was Billy. I knew I fucking recognized him. I was like trying to place him. I was like, oh shit, that's Billy Boy. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh shit. But yeah, like that entire scene, I was cringing the entire way, and I felt so like my anxiety. I was so on edge. I'm like, because here's the thing, I've witnessed those very same like arguments. I have been around for those very same arguments. Like that was too real. Your
family starts
that was
talking.
Too
I'm like,
fucking real. That was too real. I was like, nope. And me and mom were both watching it, going like, we're looking at each other like, yo, nuh-uh.
Yeah,
this is too
that
real.
Hits a little too close.
Too close to home.
Little too close. Yeah, and fucking Richard and his, you know, immigrant spiel, and it's just like, okay, just shut up, dude. Just fucking shut up. All of you are ridiculous.
All of you are ridiculous. It was what I did like about it also, though, was that it was kind of, it beautifully demonstrated like that, you know, they were a family split on, you know, both of those, you know, sides of a political spectrum. And it was beautiful how the people, when you think about it in these particular situations, when, you know, pulling Marta into the conversation, when it comes to these actual issues and the balance, Marta's the one who's actually affected, and none of them gave a flying fuck about who she actually is or what she wanted.
Exactly.
It was like,
she was just a talking point.
She was just a talking point.
Right.
She was a fucking prop. She was a prop.
Yeah. And out of everyone in this movie, she is the only one that had anything really to lose. Right?
Yep.
Like, you know, it's great at the end that they all got kicked out or whatever, but they still have their own personal fortunes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they just didn't get daddy's last few cents.
Yeah, like seriously, I was thinking about that like too.
Like, don't feel bad for these fucks getting thrown out on their ass. They all have multi-million-dollar homes and all that shit.
Like,
they were gonna just sell everything in this fucking house.
Yeah, literally, even if they lost the rights to literally every bit of dad's shit. Like, even if they did, there was so much of the money that's probably saved in their own personal private bank accounts. They could literally live a comfortable living for the rest of their lives and not have to work a fucking day of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, when you think about, like,
Walt might have to do something.
Walt
right?
might have to do something. Well, yeah, because now he's going to get, because Walt, hold on, Walt is...
The publishing company, he's the one that ran the publishing company. Well, and all that shit got sent over to Marta.
Yeah, all that got sent over to Marta, but like even then, like when you've been working as,
I'm sure he has savings.
Oh yeah, he has savings. The only person I think that doesn't have the only person that actually does have savings, or at the very least only person who has something to fall back on in that whole family is Jamie Lee Curtis's character. She's the only one who has something to really fall back on. The rest of them got absolutely fucked.
Don Johnson's out on his fucking... He's out in his ass.
Oh, he's definitely out on his ass now after cheating on Jamie's character. And then...
No, it was great.
And then... Oh, it was beautiful. The way she finds out, too, or the way they framed that whole scene.
Right, and like that's another setup and payoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
She says playing games is how they communicated, and... He sees a blank piece of paper, but there's actually heat-activated ink on that shit. Like,
and she knew it. Only she would know it. And of course, she saw it. And he disregarded it. And because he disregarded it, she fucking found it. It was like so beautiful, so beautiful. Oh my god! Like,
yeah,
I'm never gonna get
gushing over this movie. Oh my god!
I could gush about this movie forever. See, right. It's interesting or a lot earlier you mentioned say what you will about Rian Johnson and Star Wars. You know, Rian Johnson, like the one thing I've heard about Rian Johnson, having never seen any of his movies before I saw the Star Wars movie, was that Rian Johnson loves to... His whole bread and butter is to create expectations and actually defy them, to actually destroy them. And in Star Wars, unfortunately, the material that he was playing with was just something a little too sacred for most fans and people, you know, really to accept a lot of the things that he did. It defied expectations, but it also like it trampled. It went on the
bridge
lore.
Too far.
It trampled on what was
trampled. I wouldn't want to say trampled.
Yeah, trampled is.
I want to say that
phrase.
Yeah, I want to say that it took a unexpected turn, and that made a lot of people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
My initial viewing of The Last Jedi was very positive.
Same.
I thought it was pretty good. I wish it went further to be more left field than it was, so that it actually gave some consequence or gravitas to like the things that just happened. And then at the end of the movie, they just kind of like, she's Jesus, it's fine.
She's Jesus, it's fine. The thing to me that actually stands out, particularly about the Star Wars, and I think also about the Last Jedi, and I think is something also true in Knives Out, is that Rian Johnson, for all of the rugs he pulls out from underneath you, he's very good about keeping everything tied to a very specific theme, idea, or message.
He catches you. He catches you on the way down.
In Star Wars, what I felt, and honestly, that was the thing that I loved about The Last Jedi, and why The Last Jedi is actually my favorite Star Wars movie. And that's a very controversial statement.
That is some blasphemy, sir. That is.
And here's why. Oof. Here's the thing. It's technically not the best Star Wars episode. It's my personal favorite, but it's not the best one. It's not the best written one. It's not even like, it's none of those things.
Okay, so it's your personal favorite.
And the reason it is, and why I think it deserves that title, for me anyway, is because The Last Jedi reminds us why we, in a in a sense, we need Star Wars. Like the whole theme, the idea that basically was answered or fulfilled upon in The Last Jedi was this idea that the galaxy needed a hero, and that was what Luke was. He was, like, you know, for however the fanboys fucking hated, you know, that his character was destroyed. It wasn't. He was the question, really, of the theme.
Yeah.
And which see, it was confusing because Rey is not, usually the protagonist is the question, not the, you know, Luke is the question in The Last Jedi, and Rey is essentially, they're, you know, they're sort of like a yes and a no character, where Rey is the person that says we need, you know, the galaxy needs its legends, it needs its hero, and Ren is the let the past die, kill it if you have to. Yeah. And in the end, what Luke decides, as he is the, you know, the questioner or the question, the way he answers it is essentially, you know, I'm a person. I'm not the legend, but I can be the legend because the galaxy needs that. The rebellion needs that drive, and it needs that, you know, that spark. And I can,
it needs that figurehead, right?
And it's all communicated beautifully in the scene of the little kids telling this tale of how Luke faced down the entire, like, you know, empire or whatever, and didn't, you know, get a scratch on him. And there's a kid, you know, looking at the rebellion symbol and looking up at the stars. Like, that's right there, poetically and beautifully. That is like, that's Star Wars in a nutshell. Anyway, so how this relates back to the Knives Out. I just waxed out Star Wars for fucking 10 minutes. But Knives Out was almost a thesis in what makes a good person.
Yes.
Which it's a line that's repeated to Marta a bunch of times. The argument or the idea that, like, you know, you're a good nurse, you're a good person.
And you got through this not because you played Ransom's game, not because you played the Thrombies game.
Yeah.
You won because you played your own game.
Yeah. And not because you tried to win, but because you tried to do what was right.
Exactly.
And I was just like, ugh.
And they couldn't count on that. They would do, like, they all think in self aggrandizing terms or whatever would be best for them.
Yeah. They're
and
self-serving as their father taught them to be.
Exactly. And, you know, and that's beautiful. That's the heart of this movie, where it's a murder mystery, but it's more than a murder mystery. You know, there is a more primal, more basal message. And, you know, genres, as, you know, awesome as they are just different ways of telling the human experience, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of movies today get too wrapped up in their genre. And a lot of people get wrapped up in classification of what they're consuming. You know, music is big in that way. And, you know, but
this is
continue.
like,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, this is kind of like, because what you're describing is, I feel, is like almost the same difference between movies is similar. What you described, the difference between, say, in literature, between popular fiction and what is just straight up good literature. Because good literature isn't just, you know, it's not the genre, it's not that it's the written word, it's that it's an extension of ideas and a thought experiment of ideas. They are essentially theses, there are themes that
Mm-hmm.
what the genre does not serve, the themes do not serve the genre serves the themes, and a lot of writers and directors like really get that backwards, and it gets
Mm-hmm.
really frustrating. And I feel like that's like the core of a lot of disappointments and a lot of the disappointing movies is always when you can see that there's a theme, you can see that there's a good
Right.
idea dying to get out, but the focus isn't there. And movies like Knives Out, like it has that, and the
It has a
director
laser focus.
has a laser focus. The
Mm-hmm.
the genre is just the set decoration. You know, but it also, it takes the genre and it hyper focuses on what it was about the genre that made us fall in love with it in the first place. I also think that that's what I made the comparison to Tarantino for the very same reason, because his movies, when you look at it in a certain lens, are remixes. They're remixes of every tried and true story formula. But he takes this story formula, he mixes them in such special ways, blending genre and scenes that a lot of people just haven't seen, or at least they don't think they've seen it. And they have this a million
Mm-hmm.
times, they just don't know
Right. They've just never seen it done,
this way.
yeah, that way or so well that.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like he's able to take all of these and remind you of what makes us fall in love with these genres in the first place. And Rian Johnson really
Absolutely.
did that with Knives Out. He reminded us why Agatha Christie, for example, and that whole genre is so fucking beautiful. And
Right. And why we love the good murder mystery, you know.
yeah,
We might, this definitely twisted and turned that expectation on its head, where we followed the murderer through most of it, you know what I mean, or the presumed murderer, and it became, will Benoit Blanc figure out this mystery? And Benoit Blanc figures out this mystery just by letting everyone be themselves. He said to Marta at one point that the detectives in Harlan's books were like truffle pigs. They rooted and dug and, mired through all the evidence until they found the truth. He just let the truth land at his feet. And, and damn, did it.
right. Friggin' right.
And it's very refreshing to see a different take on the Who Dunnit. And that brings us to Knives Out 2. It's been confirmed that there's going to be a Knives Out 2, or I'm not sure where it's at as far as production. But it's been confirmed that no one from Knives Out 2 except for Benoit is going to be in it. It's going to be another
Benoit Blanc
murder
mystery.
Yep.
Huh. Okay. Is Rian Johnson going to be the director again? Or are they just taking his movie and building a fucking franchise out of it?
Nope, he is going to be writing and directing it.
All right, well that's good.
At least as far as we know.
I'm very skeptical with these things. I'm very skeptical with this. I feel like I feel like this movie is fucking lightning in a bottle, and I don't want to see people try to catch it twice and taint the. I don't think the first one's ever going to be tainted per se, but I hope that the sequel, if there actually ever turns out to be one, because things in production fucking die in production all the time, die in pre-production all the time.
Yep.
But I hope that if and when we do see Knives Out 2, that it tries to, I'm thinking either tackle a different theme or to try, I don't know how you, that's the thing, is like, I don't know how you could build upon the themes of the first one or say something different. Like you have to either extend the points and the themes of the first, or you have to basically make an antithesis or an evolution of the thesis. And I don't know what either of those would look like.
Take another, let's say another popular movie or story that's, already, cemented in, and turn it sideways, something maybe like that. I don't know. There's literally no information out other than they're working on it.
Well, that's
I mean, we could speculate until our faces turn blue, but
right. Also, at some point,
I have faith. I have faith in Rian Johnson to,
Yeah.
At least make something equally entertaining.
Speaking of Rian Johnson, at some point, definitely not next episode, but at some point, we should definitely check out his film. I believe it's called Brick. I have heard it is also a genre-bending piece, a genre-bending drama. I believe it's specifically
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Lucas Haas, Matt O'Leary.
Yes.
Hey, Noah Sagan, isn't it? He was the other police dude.
Yeah.
In Knives Out.
Yeah. Which, by the way, cool. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was credited in Knives Out, and I couldn't figure out which one he was for the fucking life of me because, like, I didn't see him at all. I didn't see that. Yeah.
Well, anyways, we'll definitely have to give that a look. You've definitely piqued my interest on that.
But next time, I believe we will be covering Murder on the Orient Express.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Definitely wanted to continue this murder mystery. And it's going to, I want to just compare and contrast,
Yeah.
You'll have to wait and see, but it'll be good.
We started with the love letter, literally the love letter to the Who Dunnit, and now we are going to be exploring basically a retelling of one of the original Who Dunnits. A classic. And I have, not gonna lie, I have not heard good things, so I do not have as high hopes for this one as.
You haven't seen it yet?
No, I have not seen it yet.
All right. Well,
that'll be interesting.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this pioneering episode.
Definitely.
Of Movie Rantels.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening.
And have a good evening.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.